Exharp, Hakama, Nanta, Bitum. This is the tablet of union of the Enochian system of magic. And what, you may ask, does it have to do with tarot? Well, a lot of you already know what it has to do with tarot. And DuQuette, many years ago, wrote this book called Tarot of Ceremonial Magic. And I'm going to read a little bit from this today. But I wanted to discuss the tarot vis-a-vis the Enochian system of magic. Not so much that everybody who's interested in tarot should be practicing Enochian magic, but actually Enochian magic, at least as developed by the Golden Dawn and Crowley and such, helps us to understand the tarot. And it's sort of a nice little symbiotic relationship. Now, as you can see, the rows, or the columns, we've got a white column right there in front. That's the spirit column. And then we've got colored columns, yellow, blue, green, and red, for air, water, earth, and fire. Now, in Enochian magic, the Enochians, although they weren't arguing with with the Yod-He Vav-He assignment of things, the Enochians preferred to see things related elementally with the order of air, water, earth, fire. So you can see the columns there as air, water, earth, fire. And here on the other side, you can see that the rows coming from the top to the bottom are air, water, earth, fire. Okay, and see the column of that very first white row? That white row is spirit. Okay, each of those white pyramids rule the entire row. In other words, do you see that yellow pyramid right behind the white pyramid? That yellow pyramid lives inside that white pyramid, and so does the blue one, and so does the green one, and so does the red one. They live inside there in the same way as that one big tablet there has 4 sections in it. So in other words, this Ace of Wands is that white pyramid with the red on it that we just looked at. And living inside that are 4 other sections, or 4 other pyramids, and they correspond to the court cards, the 4 court cards. This would be the ace and the 4 court cards that live inside it. So if we get nothing else but that bit of information out of it, we sort of get the idea of the power, the influence that spirit has among the elements. Spirit holds the elements together and keeps them apart at the same time. It's an underlying principle that sustains the universe and consciousness, for that matter. So I'm going to read a little here from the chapter 3, which talks about the 4 aces. And I've already discussed the whole section before that was about the trumps, or the greater arcana. And now we're getting into the lesser arcana. And I'm sure a lot of this is going to be old school to a lot of you more seasoned magicians. But imagine if you're just interested and fascinated and in love with the tarot and want to take a peek at how Enochian magic, this strange Elizabethan magical practice, has something to do with your beloved tarot. Look at it that way. After the trumps, the remaining 56 cards are divided into 4 suits. Wands, cups, swords, and discs. As mentioned earlier, these suits represent the 4 universal elements of fire, water, air, and earth, respectively. There's a 5th element, spirit, which serves a most important function. 1. Spirit acts as a vibratory glue, which bonds the other elements together in infinite combinations and proportions to form the phenomenal universe. 2. Spirit also serves as a vibratory barrier between the bonded elements, keeping them separated just enough to assure their individual identity and purity. This active, passive nature this active passive nature makes spirit the key element, for without spirit all would be a chaotic soup, a puree. So pervasive is spirit's influence that it can't be represented by a single tarot card or even a single suit. Instead, it reveals its presence and influences in the aces and the court cards. This is exhibited perfectly in the Tablet of Union. Okay. The Spirit Tablet of the Enochian Magical System of Dr. John Dee. As the Tarot of Ceremonial Magic incorporates a great deal of Enochian information on the cards, I'll take a moment to review the basic principles of this system. Between 1582 and 1589, John Dee and his clairvoyant colleague Edward Kelly embarked upon one of the most remarkable magical adventures ever recorded. It was Dee's consuming passion to speak directly with divine angelic beings in the same manner as the biblical patriarch Enoch, hence the term Enochian. His motives were as much scientific as spiritual. He was, by all accounts, perhaps the most intelligent and knowledgeable man of his day. The world came to him for answers. Where, then, was he to turn for answers to the endless questions that haunted his insatiable curiosity? Questions concerning life, science, nature, and deity. To Dee, it was only logical to attempt to access the very mind of God and God's communicating angels for more information and wisdom. In the course of their invocations and ceremonially induced visions, Dee and Kelly contacted numerous spirits who gave remarkably detailed instructions concerning the construction of various magical implements and furniture. Most significantly, they were taught an angelic language by which the spirits could be more easily invoked. The details of how this language was communicated are most complex and have fascinated occult investigators for over 400 years. And actually, many, many, many years after I wrote this, I compiled this, which gives sort of a detailed, a more detailed examination of exactly how Dee and Kelly went about creating this system, first within themselves, then within temple equipment, and then into our system of magic that's even practiced today. Okay. The details of how this language communicated are most complex and have fascinated occult investigators for over 400 years. Suffice to say in this place that it's a true language with grammar and syntax, and the visionary experiences that are the result of properly intoning the various angelic calls continue to be a source of wonder and spiritual insight to the modern magician. Dee took copious notes of the workings, and much of the material has survived to this day. In the late 1800s, Enochian magic became of special interest to S.L. MacGregor Mathers and the adepts of the Golden Dawn, who digested and synthesized much of the information and incorporated the elemental and etheric aspects of the system into the degree work of their order. In Enochian magic, the elemental universe is represented by 4 large elemental tablets. Okay. And there is an elemental tablet. That's one elemental tablet. There's one just like that for air, water, and fire, only it's got its own particular mix of elements. But each of these elemental tablets are broken into 4 corners, and each of those corners are assigned in the same way, starting at the upper right, air, or the upper left, air, then water, lower, earth, fire. They're all like that. There's air. Okay. Now, the tablets came down to Dee and Kelly just as lettered squares. Okay. They didn't come down as truncated pyramids like we see in later developments. They were just lettered, and they were lettered in English, just like that. Only later were things turned into Enochian script. But I digress. In Enochian magic, okay, one each for fire, water, air, and earth, and a 5th tablet called the Tablet of Union, or the Spirit Tablet, which rules the other 4 in exactly the same way as spirit influences the 4 elements. Now, on my Tarot of Ceremonial Magic cards, the backs of the cards have that Tablet of Union on it. As a matter of fact, it's got 2 versions of the Tablet of Union, because in a complicated way, it's hard to explain. 2 sets of the letters form a grand cross when you put all 4 elemental tablets together to form the Great Table. But I think I'll have a sip of coffee. Because I get all excited talking about Enochian. Okay, Tablet of Union, or Spirit Tablet, which rules the other 4 in exactly the same way spirit influences the 4 elements. These tablets are made up of squares upon which letters are inscribed. The letters make up the names of numerous angelic beings who can be called upon or visited by the magician. I'll discuss the details of the elemental tablets in the chapter on the court cards. For the moment, let's turn our attention to the Tablet of the Union, or the Spirit Tablet. And I've got a nice version of it there. How the Golden Dawn turned each of those squares into a truncated pyramid. You can see starting at the far right, that's the spirit column, and then the air column, water, earth, fire. And the rows are also, it's easier to see it, of course, when they're colored. Okay. The Spirit Tablet is made up of 20 lettered squares which reveal the primary names of the four great spirits of the elements. Ex-harp, that's the top, and those are angelic letters. Sorry about that. The top row is Ex-harp, the spirit of air, who rules the entire elemental tablet of air. Hakama, that's the blue line there, the spirit of water, who rules the entire elemental tablet of water. Nanta, the spirit of earth, who rules the entire elemental tablet of earth. And Bitom, down at the bottom, the spirit of fire, who rules the entire elemental tablet of fire. Now, if you're used to working with the directions in the Kabbalistic archangels that rule, say, the four quarters, you'd have the archangel Raphael in the east for air, and you would have Gabriel in the west for water, and you'd have Michael in the south for fire, and you would have Uriel in the north for earth. And you could look at Ex-harp, Hakama, Nanta, Bitum as the archangelic equivalent. So Raphael, the archangel of air in the east, would have a nickname. My name is Raphael, but you can call me Ex-harp. I'll show up either way because I'm so big. Okay, but I digress. In keeping with the elemental formula, each square of the Spirit Tablet is divided into 4 sections. Because this is the Spirit Tablet, the top and bottom sections of each square is attributed to spirit, or it's painted white here, okay? The right section of each square is attributed to the element represented by each of the 4 horizontal lines of the tablet. Air is found on the right section of each square of Ex-harp. Water, blue, water is found on the right section of each square of Hakama. Earth, green, is found on the right section of each square of Nanta. And fire, red, is found on the right section of each square of Bitum. Pretty slick, huh? The left section of each square is attributed to the element represented by each of the 5 vertical columns of the tablet. As you can see, EHNB, that's EHNB there on the far. I'm trying to get it out. That column, it spells EHNB. Okay, all right. EHNB column of the spirit has the greatest ratio of spirit sections. Each square is 3/4 spirit and 1/4 the element of the row. See, so look at all that white in that far left column. But one section is attributed to the element. So it's like that very top one right there that I'm pointing to right there. That is like air on steroids. Okay. Consequently, E is the master ruler of both Exarp and the elemental tablet of air. So that E right up there, that sort of backwards, sort of upside down L, that rules the entire elemental tablet of air. Hang on. There's the E, and it rules that entire elemental tablet of air. That lives inside that. And those 4 other squares, there's the E at the top, upper left, and those other 4 things, EXARP, are the court cards. The prince, the queen, the princess, and the knight. EXARP. Can you see how massively cool and big these archangels are? And what forces and facets of nature and consciousness that we're working with when we're working with the aces and the court cards of the tarot. Okay. E is the master ruler of both Exarp and the elemental tablet of air. H is the master ruler of Hakama and the elemental tablet of water. N is the master ruler of both Nanta and the elemental tablet of earth. And B is the master ruler of both Bitum and the elemental tablet of fire. So, and that's why we have the E. Okay, water was the next one. H for Hakama. N for Nanta. And B for Bitum. The 4 aces of the tarot serve the same purpose as the spirit squares EHNB of the spirit tablet. In the Tarot of Ceremonial Magic, each of the 4 aces displays both the applicable Enochian square from the Tablet of Union, found in the lower left-hand corner, and the lettered version of the entire elemental tablet it rules, found in the upper right-hand corner. So, once again, that's the ruler thing off the Tablet of Union, and that's what lives inside that square. That's a lot of angels. Not only that, we have a key to the hierarchical pecking order of those angels, and have the technology of manipulating the angelic calls to activate and to contact those specific layers of spiritual hierarchy. Now, the Golden Dawn set up a system of their already pre-existent temple openings appropriate to the elements of fire, water, air, and earth. So, to ceremonially access, or at least according to the Golden Dawn system and what Crowley used, To ceremonially access the various Enochian angelic beings represented by the aces, court cards, and small cards of the temple must be opened in the appropriate element, and specific calls recited in the angelic language must be intoned. The text which accompanies the illustration of each card will indicate which temple opening and calls are appropriate. It's all here. See, you want to go for that guy? Well, here's the temple openings and the appropriate calls. I did all the work for you. Relax. Okay, these temple openings and calls are found in Appendix 3. Oh, what are the calls? Well, it's in Appendix 3 here. Okay. The reader is advised to read all the material carefully and outline a sequence of actions before commencing the operation. But anyway, preparing to do it is not only half the fun, it's 90% of the magic. Okay. The second great branch of Enochian magic that does not directly, but boy, indirectly it does, deal with elemental workings, but rather concerns itself with the Enochian view of the heavens. We call that etheric branch of Enochian magic. But we're not going to do that for today.
Okay, I found this on the web for branch of Nokia magic, but we're not going to do that for today. Check it out.
Thank you, Siri. I didn't know you were listening. I hope you heard that. This is my new computer. What else is she hearing? Siri, what else did you hear? Or maybe it's not Siri. Hey, Google. Claude. Carl. Okay. I thought it'd be fun. What time is it here? Oh, gee, I've already gone a half hour. Constance says I better stop myself. No, I'm going to go on because I'm going to recite for you the first and second Enochian calls in the Enochian language. Okay? If you send the cat out of the room. No, have the cats gather around. The dogs too. It's good for them. Turtles can handle it. In order to activate, actually switch on the switch of the entire elemental tablet, the first Enochian call is intoned. It's like actually plugging in to the master current of the neighborhood, okay? Then to specifically activate that Archangel of EHNB, you recite in the angelic language, you recite the second Enochian call. And I've determined, after 40 years of doing this, that recitation of the first and second call with the intent of sort of attuning yourself to the entire elemental system, sort of focusing your heretofore unfocused elemental machinery, is a wonderful prelude to meditation. And if you've got your day ahead of you and everything else, you may just want to leave this on and play it back later today or this evening, when you will have a few minutes to quietly meditate afterwards. But just look at it as a general invocation of the Archangel of Archangels, EHNB. It would be like invoking the boss of all four archangels. And because it is so universal and so unspecific, it is, in my opinion, absolutely safe to do so, because we're already wallowing in that universal power, that universal force. It's nothing that we're taking and tweaking and twisting. It's something that we're trying to be in better harmony with. It's we who are discordant compared to the sweetness of the note of EHNB. So there are several ways to pronounce the Enochian system. As a matter of fact, everybody pronounces it a little bit differently. Crowley used the Golden Dawn method of assigning sort of a Hebrew vowel sound after each of the consonants of the Enochian system. And I learned the first and second call using Crowley's pronunciation. I have since and subsequently preferred to everything else to use what I think was more or less how Dee and Kelly were instructed to pronounce things. And I sort of formulated my own pronunciation using just the letters themselves, with some guidance from Donald Laycock's wonderful book of Enochian Dictionary. So, without further ado, this is how I learned the first and second call. I opened the temple, of course, the way the Golden Dawn did for years. But I tell you, it works just swell by sitting down with full intent to do it. But anyway, you rend the veil, and then make the sign of the closing of the veil, because those are the two spirit things. Then you do the invoking pentagrams of spirit active and passive. There's that one there, and that one there with Ehiya and Agra. In the number 21, in the grand word Ehiya, in the name Yeshua, in the password INRI, O spirits of the tablet of spirit, ye I invoke. The sign of Osiris slain, the sign of the morning of Isis, the sign of Apophis and Typhon, the sign of Osiris risen, LVX Lux, the light of the cross. In the name of Yehovah, Alvaha, Vadath, I declare that the spirits of spirit have been duly invoked. Ol Sanufa Risaji Gohu Yad Belata, Elanu Sahaka Elazad, Sobrazod Ol Rod Rei Ita Naza de Pesad. Gera ata maele pereje, das hoel ko kaa nota hoa zodemizod. Od comimea ta nobolo zodien, sobatihil ginanupe pereje aladi, das favorebe sobola hegeresam. Kasara mahora la kaba paire, das zodunure nusajika birem ia danahe. Pilahe fere zodem. Zodunure zoda adana gono yadapi eldas home tohe. Soba ipimi, luipimis. Da sabola vepe zodemeda poomal, od bogira aita piape piamoel od va o an. Zodakare eke zodomoranu od kikalaka a. Zodareje lape zodareda noko mada ho athahe iada. That kicked off the entire thing. The second call, this is much shorter, kicks off the EHNB. Adagita va'u pa'ahe zodanuganu fa'aipe salada. Vi va'uel sobame iel pereje I zoda zodazod. Piadapehe kasarama abarama jitata loa parakalida kota loras el kutura besa uge balatohe. Kiui kahisa lusada. O rore od mikale papa kahisa bi ozo danoganu. Lape noanu torofa koresa taje. O kuo minano I done. Torezodu gohoel zodakare eke kana kuoda zodamaranu mikala zodo odo ozodazu dame vaurelar. Lape zodir io iada. Ulvenu odzakam ilsge. EHNB. Ulvenu odzakam ilsge. Ehenba. And that's where we'll end it today. Continue to be good to yourself and be good to each other. Hopefully, see you tomorrow. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law, love under will.